let's tell you that South Africa's National Prosecuting Authority, NPA, has withdrawn all charges of rape, sexual assault and robbery against all 13 men and a minor charged for a gang rape incident. In July, South Africa was shocked when 8 young women were gang raped while filming a music video near abandoned mines in the West Rand of Johannesburg.
The crew of 20 people were also robbed of equipment, money and cell phones, after which 80 men were arrested in a major police sweep. Many of those arrested were believed to work as illegal miners. The suspects, who are all immigrants in South Africa, are still facing charges of the contravention of the Immigration Act in Krugersdorp Magistrates Court. Now, joining us this morning for more information on the story is the regional spokesperson for the National Prosecuting Authority in Gauteng, Phindi Mjonondwane. Good morning, Phindi, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and morning to your viewers as well, and thank you for inviting us as the NPA.
All right, let's get into it, Phindi. This is a very unfortunate incident. There's been lots of outcry, public outrage by civil organizations and women who feel that they have not been properly represented in this case. Let's talk about what led the NPA taking a decision to withdraw the charges against the suspects.
Well, indeed, we can confirm as the NPA that we took a decision to withdraw the charges, especially those of rape, sexual assault, and robbery with aggravating circumstances. This is following us receiving the outcome of the DNA results, which excluded all of the accused persons before court. You'd remember that initially there were about 114 people that were arrested. And soon after their arrest, DNA swabs was obtained from them and from the victims when they were taken to hospital. So those DNA results came back negative, as well as the process of the identity parade could also not come to our rescue, because when they first appeared in court, an identity parade was conducted before they were brought to court. So in that process, we were informed as the NPA that 3 of the victims managed to point out the 14 suspects. So they were then separated from that 140 and then charged with rape and these other charges that I've just mentioned. So upon receiving this outcome of the DNA, we then consulted with all the victims, and it became clear to us that their identity, they are not certain about the identity of the people that raped them, and therefore we could not proceed as the NPA having such challenges.
All right, Phindi, I mean, in August, South Africa's National Prosecuting Authority said there are prospects of a successful prosecution against the accused. All of a sudden, I mean, what changed?
Well, as I've indicated earlier on, that when the docket was brought to court, there was an identity parade that the police conducted, and we were told that the outcome of that identity parade was that 3 of the victims pointed out 14 of the accused persons. Hence, we then enrolled the matter because there were prospects of a successful prosecution against the 14 in relation to the identity parade, because we are now of a view that we have the correct people before court. But as soon as the victims then started having doubts in terms of their identity, it then became apparent that we have challenges in the evidential material currently at our disposal, and therefore us continuing with the prosecution would have been malicious. Remember that these are women that were still traumatized at the time. They are still living with that trauma, and therefore they are bound to make such mistakes. So we can really not also apportion any blame to the victims in this matter.
Phindi, would you say that the NPA was maybe hurried in its decision to enroll the matter in court, seeing as, yes, an identification parade had just been carried out, and then they had taken them to court, thinking, of course, that they could establish a prima facie case against them. But then, unfortunately, when the DNA results were checked and there was a comparison made, they realized that the DNA of the people didn't match the people that had been brought to court. Would you say that in this case, the NPA did a horrid job and that might have affected this case? And where do we go from here?
Not at all, not at all. Remember that as the NPA, we follow the evidence. So the evidence that was contained in the docket at that stage informed us that we have the correct people before court. But upon receiving the outcome of the DNA, we then had to consult, especially with those victims that have pointed out these accused persons in the identity parade. And that is when it then became clear to us that they are really not sure. They also told us that they actually made a mistake. They could have made a mistake. Remember that they were still frightened. These are women that were violated.
Right.
And we completely understood the position they were at.
We totally understand that, Phindi. I mean, we've unfortunately run out of time, but if you can share with us in a few seconds. Now we're obviously back to square one. So what next?
Yes, it is a setback, but investigations are ongoing, and as the NPA, we are working closely with the police, guiding the investigation process.
All right. Thank you so much, Phindi. We hope that this is brought to a conclusion very soon so that justice can be found, not just for these women who have been raped in Krugersdorp, but also for women generally in South Africa. The numbers are quite alarming and something needs to be done about gender-based violence. Thank you very much for your time.